So the next one is Loquats by Sally Wen Mao. In the spring, they ripen and swarm the trees, the waxy little fruits that resemble bald heads. I collect their remains, piebald, sweet and sour. A syrup made of loquats is said to cure cough. Their woolly twigs splinter in pear blight. I am bereft when I eat them all. My throat and heart always sore. Whenever I got sick, my mother used to skin yellow loquats, but they tasted better with the skin on. This season, my cough grows and grows. There is a tree or a fungus in my chest. I once kissed a man in the hollow. His tattoo of a stump on his chest. I counted the rings to 100. His memory broke against my cracked phone screen like waves against the sutro baths. In different years of my life, 2012 and 2017, two men with the same name fucked me. Futility was their name. Their bald heads, their kisses, the spittle of spite, crawl into me refusing to exit. At the herbal medicine store, the most expensive item is 虫草, or wormgrass, dead caterpillars whose brains become host to a fungus that rots them from the inside out. Good for the lungs, a panacea for all pain, the saleswoman pitches. I am wormgrass, expensive but brain dead. Comatose in my love, my refuse, futility fueled my every waking hour. The tree inside me is not loquat, but strangler fig. A tree so pretty and snake-like, it renders you breathless, then worthless, all at once. Okay.
First thing that I'm noticing here is a lot of pastoral imagery. So the spring, the trees being ripened and swarmed, of course, loquats themselves.
Yep.
And I think in tandem with that is also sort of a I'm not sure if this is like a corruption of nature or just simply showcasing like the ugly side of nature itself. But yeah, I think you know more about this poem than me.
No.
And you've read it more than me.
Yeah, I've read it more than you, but like, I feel like I still don't fully understand it,
Yeah.
But yeah, let's just start from the front.
That's an interesting point actually.
What's interesting?
What I know is, or what I think I know is that it's about love and heartbreak, and I guess at the end of the day, you never fully understand what is love. And yeah, you see that in the last line. It renders you breathless, then worthless, all at once.
Yeah. So she has an ambivalent relationship towards love. And I think it would be, when I read it, right, and I reread it, the last time I read it, I thought, okay, it's a love of men. Okay?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, do you get that as well? Or no?
What do you mean by simply
love
a love
of men? Okay.
Like just loving men, or?
Yeah, just loving men, simply.
Yeah, I do get it.
Yeah.
I think it's in the vein of like, I don't know, just struggling with dealing with men in romantic relationships. We see like I see like very common like tropes of a cracked phone screen, the spittle or spike crawling to me refusing to exit. So like that toxic ex. What else? And yeah, I think what really stands out about this poem is that that image of something repulsive growing inside the body. Where's the line? There is a tree or a fungus in my chest, and that image of 虫草 or wormgrass, where dead caterpillars whose brains become host to a fungus that rots them from the inside out. So what I think the fungus refers to here is like what you said, loving men. So it's kind of like a disease that robs you of your rationality.
Yeah, but if we exactly, and if we go by like the sort of heteronormativity and Asian ideas of family, right? Traditional Asian values of family, which is what I think she's trying to get at with, Loquats and mentioning her mother and Chinese medicine. I mean, it seems very, very natural for a woman to love a man and then marry a man and then give birth. But then for her, this is something she struggles with. And so I guess the bringing in of tree and fungus growing inside her, it's like, okay, it's something natural, but why is it causing her so much pain? Yeah, I think that's something that's interesting for me. So I think for this poem, right, it's not just her struggle with her love for men, but also her struggling with, I don't know, because I come from a more conservative idea, right? That okay, maybe since she has Chinese heritage, maybe her mom or her parents want her to marry already and just give birth, And so like, there's this also struggling against tradition and what your family wants you to do, your duty. And so that's where the Loquats and the Chinese medicine part. I feel like we haven't gone through the poem enough, so should we just start from the top and then just go through slowly? Okay, yeah. Okay, so in the spring they ripen and swarm the trees. So ripen and swarm, I mean, when I read it, I thought, okay, fertility, proliferation, profligacy. But swarm has a bit of a negative connotation for me, and so that's where the angst already kicked in for me. Okay, and then second line, the waxy little fruits that resemble bald heads. Okay, yeah. So the humanization of the fruits to resemble bald heads. Okay, and then bald heads. Okay, I think of men, and I don't know, bald heads are just repulsive to me. They're not the most beautiful thing in the world, I would say.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so like the fruits.
I don't think Sally Wen Mao would ever step foot in Tekong.
Yeah, I mean, the fruits remind her of bald heads, and like the bald heads, the humans, right? Are this image of bald heads is the one that like triggers the swarming of the trees. So I think this is where the love of man, or hatred of a love for man, comes into this corruption of nature, as you mentioned earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. At the same time, there's also the line itself, waxy little fruits resembling bald heads, defamiliarizes both the image of the Loquats and the men's heads themselves. So you get both ideas being more like becoming more alienating.
Yeah.
And so this starts the process of like the decay, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, go on.
Yeah, the alienation part is really interesting, to be honest, because I mean we've already been mentioning things that are kind of related to alienation, right? Her struggling to reconcile, to accept her love for men, her being alienated from this natural love for men, and also being alienated from traditional ideas of family, traditional values, traditional ideas that okay, a woman should marry a man already and give birth and whatever. So let's just move on to the next stanza. I collect their remains, so the Loquats remains, piebald, sweet, and sour. Okay. So already in the first stanza, I related the fruits to man. And now the remains of fruit would be the remains of man as well. Piebald, sweet, and sour. I don't know, I saw sweet, and I thought of it. Semen. I'm like, I collect their remains. Okay, I mean, it's true, right? If a man deposits his liquid in a woman, then the woman is collecting the remains. Piebald, sweet and sour, and it doesn't taste that, and it doesn't sound that delicious to me. So yeah, I don't know. And like piebald, in the word piebald itself, there's bald. Like she really hates men, doesn't she?
And yeah, what's interesting is the word remains. So that association with death and decay. But in the next line, you read that someone says that a syrup made of loquats is said to cure a cough.
It's a good thing.
And here there's that juxtaposition or the conflict of ideas between loquats being something that's meant to have medicinal qualities, that's meant to be able to promote a life, being contrasted against loquats themselves already being a dead thing. And I think there's also we can also see that that idea of the two extremes coming together, in it being sweet and sour.
Yeah.
So it's both something that's bad and good at the same time. I think we'll further develop this idea once we continue with the poem.
Yeah. Okay, so continuing, right, in the third stanza, I am bereft when I eat them all. So this stands in contrast to the previous line, a syrup made of loquats is said to cure cough, right? I mean, one is positive, the other one is significantly negative. I'm bereft. I mean, bereft is such a strong word. I mean, how can you be bereft when you eat something that's said to promote life, health, well-being? So here's the ambivalence, her rejection perhaps of what that person is saying. And so who is this person? We get to that in the fourth stanza perhaps. Whenever I got sick, my mother used to skin yellow loquats. But they tasted better with the skin on. So her mom perhaps is the one who has been telling her that loquats are good for your health. Okay? And she would make them out of good intentions for her when she got sick. But then she carries on after the comma to add that they tasted better with the skin on. So there's this jump between what the mother thinks is good and what Sally, the persona herself, thinks is good. So already we get this gap between the mom and the daughter. Like the mom doesn't really understand what the daughter wants, what the daughter likes. Yeah. So next stanza. Let's just continue reading. This season, my cough grows and grows. Okay, so crisis happens. How do you deal with this crisis? Are you going to eat loquats and then, okay, continue accepting it? Or what? So there's a tree or a fungus in my chest. So this is the really scary imagery. Imagine a tree or fungus. Oh my god, fungus, so disgusting. Inside of you. I once kissed a man in the hollow. Okay, so there's a tree of fungus in my chest. I once kissed a man in the hollow. I think for me, this clarifies what the tree or the fungus in her chest is. It's probably like something to do with romance, right? So I thought it would be, okay, her love for men. What do you think?
What reading this line, I think what jumps out to me is that there is a pervading like sense of regret. So of course, firstly the image of the hollow, emptiness, despair, and there's also we hear the short vowels in once kissed a man, but it kind of like it then goes on to transition to the longer vowels in hollow. So this might be a bit of a stretch, but what I'm imagining is like you're brashly like rushing along to do something, but at the end of it, you stop and you think to yourself like, what the hell have I done? And you're starting to regret it, and that's when the word hollow comes in.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. So carrying on, his tattoo of a stump on his chest. So she still remembers these images quite vividly. I counted the rings to 100. So the man's being linked with the tree quite directly here. His memory broke, yeah?
I think this might be an intrusive thought, but I thought of it as like the rings could be his body count.
Oh my god, no way. Okay, possibly.
Possibly. I don't know, cause
and then they would like play into
sound.
the idea of perhaps if you're a woman and you're having sex with a man who has had sex with many other women, right? There's a feel of like dispossession, right, when you're having sex with such a man, like, oh, you're just another number, you know.
Oh yeah, that's possible. I don't know, like the number of rings on a tree stump symbolizes or shows like the age of the tree, right? So I think if
man has had a lot of sexual experience.
There is one possible way of looking at it. But if we go on to the next few lines,
yep.
His memory broke against my cracked phone screen,
like waves against
the sutro bars. Actually, do you know what the sutro bars are?
The sutro bars are like a place in San Francisco. It's a privately owned public saltwater swimming pool complex that was built to promote health and well-being.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Google coming in to save the day.
Yep.
But yeah. So firstly, the image of having like 100 rings on the stump, so it implies like the man has been there in this world for a very, very long time, right?
Yep.
But in the next line, it's instantly like undercutted. Like his memory broke against my cracked phone screen like waves against the sutro bars. And I don't know, it's an interesting image. How at first you would think that a relationship would be permanent, but as you go on and you learn more about it and you experience it more, it just seems more and more transient.
Actually, how I interpret it, how I interpret this line, his memory broke against my cracked phone screen, like waves against the sutro bars, would be first, she's establishing that she's been hurt by her romantic relationships, her cracked phone screen. So his memory broke against it. So she remembers him and it hurts. So there's a cracked phone screen. She has been through stuff. And then like waves against the sutro bars. So sutro bars, it's placed with, the water there is calm because it's a pool and it's there to promote health and well-being. So, I mean, if you think of a pool, a private pool, compared to the vast sea with violent waves, think of her being like, okay, she's calm, she's alone, she's taking the time to recover and just let herself get better, right? But then this memory of an ex just returns like waves against a calm place where there aren't supposed to be waves. Yep. I thought that was really interesting.
And
like the waves, yeah.
If we move on to the next few lines, in different years of my life, 2012 and 2017, two men with the same name fucked me.
Yep.
It goes on to continue to attempt to like undermine and diminish the idea of the male partner as a permanent figure. So yeah, the speaker just like casually lists out 2 random years, 2012 and 2017, and there's also that comic fact that 2 men with the same name.
Yeah, and full stop futility. I love this line so much. 2 men, line break, with the same name fucked me, full stop. Futility. It's so good. Okay, and then she carries on. Futility was their name. It's like she isn't even going into details into the relationships. She's not even trying to like give those men a personality, give them a name. Instead, she's just reducing all those romantic relationships to one word: futility.
And there is that sense of exasperation that I'm getting from the alliteration of like fuck and futility.
Okay, yeah. I love the word futility so much. I mean, like, digression, but yeah. Futility was the name. Okay, comma. Hey, full stop. Guess what comes back? They're bald heads. She really wouldn't love Tekong, I swear. They're bald heads, their kisses, the spittle of spite, spittle, crawl into me, penetration, insertion, refusing to exit. So they come and they wound her permanently. I mean, we have the cracked phone screen earlier. She's bereft after eating them all. Eating what? I mean, the Loquats. Collecting their remains. I mean, the man just deposits, and then their remains just remain with her. Yeah.
And there's that idea of commodification and the idea of like maybe linking back to transactional relationships, or the idea of the very idea of a relationship being something that's transactional in the next line. At the herbal medicine store, the most expensive item is 虫草 Wen grass. So you're already placing a price tag on the relationship. You're already putting a number onto it. And again, the idea of death, dead caterpillars, but this time it's a fate that's worse than death. These caterpillars have their brains become host to a fungus that rots them from the inside out.
Actually, I feel like this herbal medicine store and then something being sold, right? Being transactional.
Right.
Do you think it's, I mean, as a woman, you're just putting yourself out there in the market for sale. And that's why the most expensive item is 虫草 or wormgrass, right? And then she says, I'm wormgrass, expensive, but brain dead. Like, is that what she thinks men want? expensive but branded, or is that what society thinks, or what society expects of women, or perhaps what men expect of women? Expensive but branded.
Oh, that's a really good insight actually. I did not catch that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very interesting reading.
And I linked because in the same stanza as I'm Wormgrass, expensive but branded, right? There's also a line, the 虫草 is good for the lungs. It's a panacea for all pain. The saleswoman pitches. And who else says okay, these things are good for you? The mom. So the mom and the saleswoman adopt the same position. So I'm guessing okay, mom, right? Mom of Sally Wen Mao, probably Chinese. Saleswoman at herbal medicine store, probably also Chinese. So there's the traditional pressure, the Chinese pressure on women to marry. And so that's where that reading for me came in now.
Yep. And now that you've mentioned the idea of the marriage market, I think we can also read the poem as trying to suggest that women are being treated like medicine. So they're expected to be like a magical cure for all men's ailments. And meant to be like a panacea for all pain.
Yeah.
And yeah, like what you've picked out, expensive but brain dead. So there's that expectation for women to be, I would say, maybe expensive in the sense that they are, in the sense
like
of
trophy wives, is it?
Yeah, trophy wives, like physical desirability, maybe
the objects, right?
In terms of like status as well, social status. And yeah, the idea of brain dead,
they're very subservient.
Yeah, being subservient, having like almost no opinions of their own. Yeah. And I think we might also see some flashes of that in the previous parts of the poem.
Yeah.
Where, for example, like the line we've discussed just now, in different years of my life, 2012 and 2017, two men with the same name fucked me. So there's that. The speaker here is coming across as very, very passive, as someone who's like not fighting back.
Yeah.
And then that, like the just that image of being like fucked.
Like very numb, right?
Yeah.
Very numb, very indifferent.
Just immediately concede that two men with the same name fucked me. And yeah, I think that's on.
So, comatose, my love, my refuse, futility fueled my every waking hour. The tree inside me is not loquat, but strangler fig. A tree so pretty and snake-like, it renders you breathless, then worthless, all at once. Okay. So for these two stanzas, really, I only picked up on that strangler fig part. So a strangler fig is a kind of tree, and I think it's called strangler fig because are you seeing a picture of it right now?
Yeah. Can I read the Google?
You can.
The Google description. Any of numerous species of tropical figs named for their pattern of growth upon host trees, which often results in the host death. And yeah, you were saying?
Oh. Okay, to be honest, you can talk about the strangler fig part later.
Okay.
Like describing how the tree comes in. But really, for me, it's just strangler really looks like stranger, right? So that's the love of man. I mean, a stranger. Why would you let a stranger come into you and then ruin you? So yeah, you can continue with your the tree part. I mean, after reading about it, any of numerous species, whatever, blah blah blah. Are there insights?
There is a sense of duality here. Firstly, of course, the image of the strangler fig, right, being inside you, and slowly taking over you, strangling you, growing inside you, and ultimately maybe trying to kill you. But on the other hand, there's also that sense of possession inside you. It's something that the speaker may also be able to wield, actually, as a weapon against men.
Yep.
So in that also impacts my reading of the next two lines. So the tree being pretty and snake-like, it renders you breathless, then worthless all at once. So it may not just, it could refer to both the men and the women in the relationship, actually. So if we go with the reading that the strangler fig can refer to the speaker taking back that power, and wielding it as a weapon, then yeah, at the end of it all, the speaker is someone who renders people breathless because of her beauty but also worthless. Maybe in contrast to the speaker's beauty, the guy would feel like absolutely worthless.
Uh-huh.
But of course, it can also
the other reading, right?
Be the other reading, like the speakers on the receiving end of it all. So love is just something that's so exasperating and just so frustrating that it slowly decays you from the inside.
Yep. Okay, I think that's all I have to say for this poem.
I think that's all I have to say too.
Okay.